The angler who just cashed a tournament check is not fishing the rod with his own face on the box. He's fishing something cheaper, something most people walk right past on the rack. And before he ever bought it, he ran a test that took him about 4 seconds and told him whether that rod was worth the money. Not the price tag, the rod itself. And here's what took me a while to understand. This isn't one brand pulling one trick. The word pro on a fishing rod is a price tier. That's all it is. It's a label a company assigns to itself, and it tells you almost nothing about the blank underneath the paint. There are 5 of those Pro Series rods that the people who actually win quietly refuse to pay for, and I'm going to show you every one of them. By the time this is over, you'll know the exact framework these guys use to size up a rod in seconds. The 5 Pro Series traps they won't touch, the 4-second test that keeps you from getting robbed at the counter, and the short list they actually fish. There's also one thing the factory shares between a $100 rod and a $400 rod. Something nobody at the shop will ever say out loud. We'll get to that. It's going to make you look sideways at your whole rack. So start with the lie printed on almost every rod sold. You've seen the ratings, the IM6, the IM7, the IM8. Higher number, better rod, more money, or so the story goes. Except the man who built one of the most respected rod companies in America said flat out that those numbers are not a quality standard. And that man, Gary Loomis, who started G. Loomis up in Woodland, Washington back in 1982, put it in print. The IM numbers are trade codes from the company that sold the raw graphite fiber. They were never an industry grade for how good your rod is. A company can stamp IM8 on a blank because it feels like it. There's your first free thing 30 seconds in. The most quoted spec in fishing means almost nothing on its own. And everything behind us, every buy and avoid call, lives in one set called the bilge files, the Outboard Blacklist, and the rest. $19.99, and I won't bring it up again. It's there if you want it. Scan the QR code or hit the link in the description and pinned comment. But the rating isn't even the part that should bother you, because here's what a higher modulus actually does. And it's the opposite of what the marketing wants you to believe. A higher modulus number means the factory used less material, not more. Stiffer fiber means they need fewer wraps of it to hit the same stiffness, so the blank gets lighter. Lighter is genuinely good, but push it too far and the blank turns brittle, because there's less holding it together. That high modulus fiber Loomis talked about only works because the fiber also carries a high strain rate, up around 750,000, and a fishing rod has to stay north of 680,000 or it cracks under a hard hook set. So when somebody sells you a 56-ton blank like it's automatically tougher, you ask one question: tougher or just thinner? Most of them won't have an answer for you. Now flip the rod over and look at what it's actually built to do, because this is where the real money gets won and lost. Power and action are 2 different things, and the shop guy mixes them up on purpose. Power is how hard you have to pull to bend the rod. Action is where the rod bends. A fast action bends only in the top quarter. A moderate action bends down into the middle, and matching that to your technique matters more than any dollar figure on the tag. Throw a crankbait, a bait with little treble hooks, on a stiff fast rod and you'll tear those trebles right out of a fish's mouth on the head shake. That's a fish lost at the side of the boat, the one you tell the story about for a week. Put that exact same crankbait on a softer moderate rod and the tip soaks up the shock and the fish stays pinned. So a $130 cranking rod in the right action will flat out beat a $400 rod in the wrong one. That isn't a hot take. That's just physics, deciding where the rod bends. And that's the first half of the 4-second test the check winners run. Only the first half. Stay with me, because the second half is the part that actually separates them from the guy who spent the most money in the building. Here's the piece the modulus crowd never talks about. Flip the rod and run your finger straight down the guides, the little rings the line passes through. That's where companies bury the cost cutting, and it's the first place the pros look. A cheap guide is heavy aluminum oxide with a thick ring. It's been around 30 years and it works fine, but it's dead weight hanging off your blank, and weight is the enemy of sensitivity. The step up is a Fuji alkanite ring, about 20% lighter, nearly as hard, and it runs around $4 a guide. Above that, you've got silicon carbide, the old gold standard, and torzite at the very top, which is so light it drops the entire guide train weight by 20 to 30%. And the label will never tell you this part. A full set of alkanite guides costs you about $30. Silicon carbide runs around $60 and torzite $100. So when a Pro Series rod and the plain rod next to it ride on the same blank but wear different guides, you are not paying for a better rod. You're paying for maybe $70 of guides and a name on the side. I'll let you decide whether that's worth a $150 jump. So that's where their eyes go. Blank material first, then guides. But there's one more move, and it takes about a second. They balance it. They lay the rod across one finger right at the reel seat and watch which way it tips. A rod that's tip-heavy will grind your wrist down by mid-afternoon, and worse, it'll feel dead in your hand. Because balance is what lets a bite travel up the blank into your fingers. Sensitivity isn't one magic part. It's the whole system. The fiber, the wall thickness, the guides, and the balance, all pulling together or all fighting each other. And Gary Dobyns, who built his entire rod company off the back of tournament fishing, says he puts Fuji reel seats on every single rod he makes because they never give him a problem. So when the guy whose name is on the rod tells you the one part he refuses to cheap out on, that's worth more than any spec sheet. If you've made it this far, you already understand more about what's inside a fishing rod than the person who sold you your last one did. That's the entire point of this channel. So if it's earning the time, go ahead and subscribe, because I do this every week, and the list of things they're hoping you never check does not get any shorter. Alright, now we get to the 5. The 5 Pro Series rods the people cashing checks walk right past. And I want to be careful with how I say this, because I am not telling you these rods break, and I'm not calling any of them junk. Some of them are excellent rods. What I'm telling you is that the premium you pay sits in the label, not the blank, and the spec sheet proves it every time. Trap number 1. The budget brand flagship with the word Pro stamped across it. You know the ones. A company that mostly stocks the bottom of the rack suddenly has a Speed Demon Pro, or a Pro Series, or a Crazy Pro, and it's priced like it earned the badge. Flip it over. Standard import blank, somewhere around 30 to 36 ton. House brand guides, no Fuji ring in sight. It's the same factory blank as the cheaper model in that brand's own catalog, dressed in flashier thread wraps with a tournament word in the name. The pros don't fish these, and it isn't snobbery. It's that you can buy that same brand's plain rod, get the identical blank, and pocket the difference. That's number 1. We're barely getting started. Trap number 2 is the rod sold to you on a single number. The blank that screams 56 ton, or some modulus, figure higher than anything the big names even print, with generic guides, a generic reel seat, and not one word about strain rate anywhere on the package. Remember what we just covered. The ton number all by itself is marketing. A high modulus blank with a cheap guide train and no quality fiber behind it is a brittle stick with a big number painted on it. The people who win don't buy the number, they buy the whole system. So when the only thing a rod is bragging about is how high its modulus goes, that right there is the tell. It's compensating for everything it isn't saying. That's number 2. Now pause, because this runs bigger than 2 rods. A lot of the brand names elbowing each other for space on that wall aren't really competitors. They're roommates. One private equity firm, Sycamore Partners out of New York, bought a company called Pure Fishing back in 2019 for $1.3 billion. And Pure Fishing owns a stack of names you'd recognize in a heartbeat, like Abu Garcia, Berkley, Fenwick, Penn and Ugly Stik. Different logos, different price tags, but one parent company making the same calls about what goes into the product. And over on the other side, Loomis, that legendary American name, has been a subsidiary of Shimano since the 90s. So some of those heated brand arguments at the boat ramp on a Saturday morning are really just one company's accountants arguing with themselves. And I still haven't told you the thing the factory shares between the cheap rod and the expensive one. That's coming. That's the part that flips this whole thing on its head, and I'm honestly curious about this one. Drop the rod brand you'd defend to the death in the comments, the one you swear by. I want to count how many of them turn out to share a parent company. I'll be down there reading. Trap number 3 and this one is going to make some people mad at me. The high-end rod that's priced like it's made in America or Japan, but isn't. Some serious rod builders argue that a handful of well-loved premium bass rods, ones that ring up at $300 and $400, are actually rolled in Korea or China on good but not exotic blanks, and then priced right up next to rods that are genuinely built in Park Falls, Wisconsin, or rolled in Japan. Now I think a lot of those rods are excellent in the hand. That's a real opinion, not me dodging. But you're paying a premium that reflects the brand and the pro on the cover, not the cost of where the thing was actually made. The check winners know that gap exists, and plenty of them quietly fish the cheaper American-made rod from the same category instead. That's number 3. Trap number 4 is the cleanest sleight of hand of the bunch. The Signature Series. A pro's name, dressed up thread wraps, a special paint job, and a price jump of $150 over the standard rod sitting 2 inches away on the same rack. Then you lay the 2 spec sheets side by side. Same blank, same guides, same reel seat. You're buying an autograph. And look, there's nothing wrong with liking a rod a pro helped tune. Just understand exactly what the extra money bought you, which is cosmetics and a name, not a single ounce of extra performance. That's number 4. But the last one is the one that's really going to test you, because it's the rod you've probably been saving up for. And trap number 5 is the one I already know is going to get me hate mail. The $400 to $1,000 flagship. The GLX, the NRX Plus, the Legend Elite, the Poison Ultima. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you these are bad rods, because they're not. They are genuinely spectacular pieces of equipment. But a flagship hands you maybe the last 10% of performance for double or triple the money. One guy who owns a $400 Legend X said it himself in a review. The rod performs to the price, sure, but for $400 the fit and finish is unremarkable. The anglers actually cashing checks usually own 1, maybe 2 flagships for their money technique, and they fish value rods for everything else on the deck. The guy with 8 flagships laid out on his front casting deck is, more often than not, the guy who isn't winning. That's the whole list. And right here is where it all turns around, because tearing things down is the easy part. The reason you stayed this long is the other half of it. What do they actually fish? And what is that test? So let's settle both, starting with a guy who proves the entire point. Take Rick Clunn, one of the most decorated anglers who ever lived. He said he fishes basically one rod and reel setup for around 98% of his fishing, because in his words, it's a fallacy that you need a different rod for everything. Now his rod happens to be a sponsor product, so take it for what it is. But a legend telling you that you do not need a rack full of specialized rods should land harder than any catalog ever will. So here's the 4-second test, start to finish. 1. Ignore the name on the rod completely. Cover the logo with your thumb if you have to. 2. Read the blank material and where it's actually made, not the IM number on the side. 3. Run your finger down the guides and clock whether they're Fuji or generic. 4. Balance it across one finger at the reel seat and feel where it tips. Name, blank, guides, balance. That's the entire thing the guy cashing the check is doing, while everybody around him is reading the price tag and the marketing copy. And once you've run it 10 or 15 times, it really does collapse down to about 4 seconds. And here's the short list that test points you toward, with one honest catch on each, because none of these are perfect. For moving baits with treble hooks, your crankbaits and topwater, you want a moderate action. Something like a Shimano SLX glass or a St. Croix Mojo. The catch glass rods feel heavier and a little duller in the hand. That's the trade for keeping fish pinned. For single hook power fishing, jigs and worms and Texas rigs, a Shimano Zodiac or a Saint. Croix Victory in the $170 to $200 range will do 90% of what a $400 rod does. The catch, you give up a sliver of the very last bit of sensitivity. For finesse and drop shot on spinning gear, a St. Croix Bass X will quietly embarrass rods costing twice as much. The catch, it's a touch heavier than the premium stuff. For flipping and frogging in heavy cover, a Dobyns Champion, And for inshore saltwater, a St. Croix Avid Inshore or a Shimano Terramar. Notice what is completely missing from that list. There's no $1,000 rod on it anywhere. You could absolutely spend that much, but not one rod on this list needs you to. And if you don't want to buy at all, there's a door the marketing really doesn't want you to find. You can build it yourself or have a custom builder do it on a quality bare blank from a maker like MHX, Rain Shadow, or North Fork Composites, which is Gary Loomis's own blank company. Builders will tell you a good blank like that runs as good as some St. Croix blanks that cost twice the money. You won't beat the performance of that exact blank. The blank is the blank, but you get to choose the guides, the reel seat, and the grip, and get a properly balanced hand-glued rod for materially less than a comparable flagship. And the single biggest upgrade you can ever make to a rod you already own and love isn't the blank at all. It's swapping a heavy factory guide train for lighter titanium-framed guides. That one change drops weight off the tip and wakes up the sensitivity for a fraction of the cost of a new rod. Let me lay out the actual money math plain, because this is the whole game on one page. The Marketing Pro rod gives you a standard blank, house guides, and a famous name for $300-400. The genuinely better blank, where a real high modulus fiber and Fuji guides actually justify the cost, also runs you $300 or $400, but you can feel where the money went. And the value pick, the Zodias, the Victory, the Bass X, runs you $100 to $200 and hands you 90% of the performance of either one. So the only rod on that page that's a bad buy is the first one, the standard blank wearing a premium price. But it's a bad buy at any tag, because the value pick sitting right beside it usually outfishes it in the right hands anyway. That's the part that should sting a little. The rod that loses isn't the cheap one. It's the expensive one that was never expensive on the inside. And now the thing I've been holding back this whole time. The part the factory shares between the cheap rod and the expensive one. It lives at St. Croix, one of the most respected names in American rod building, which also quietly runs a company called Rod Geeks. And Rod Geeks says it right out in plain writing on their own website. Their blanks are St. Croix blanks, handcrafted in the same Park Falls, Wisconsin and Fresnillo, Mexico factories, built on the same premium materials. And they publish a chart that tells you exactly which St. Croix retail series each blank matches up to. So the same family of blank that goes into a premium retail rod is sold by the very same company as a bare blank, for a fraction of what the finished rod rings up at. They told on themselves, in writing. And if the most trusted name in the entire business will hand you the same blank cheaper the moment you know to ask for it, what exactly do you think the brands that don't even roll their own blanks are doing behind the paint? One last piece, because this one's basically free money sitting on the table. The warranty is worth more than the badge on the butt cap. A no-fault replacement program, the kind where you snap a rod through your own stupidity and they replace it for a flat fee, is worth far more than a lifetime warranty that only covers manufacturing defects you have to prove in the first place. Take G. Loomis, which will replace a broken rod for 60% off retail. No questions asked. And Dobyns and St. Croix run their own flat fee programs. Now a lifetime warranty sounds better on paper, but try claiming one and you'll find out fast that it only pays out if you can prove the rod failed on its own, which almost never happens. And since the honest truth is that most rods die from a car door or a garage ceiling fan, not from a defect, that flat fee replacement program is the part of the price that actually has your back. So here's where all of this leaves you, standing at the rack with your wallet out. The gap between the rod with the Pro's face on the box and the rod that Pro actually fishes is the only thing you ever needed to understand about this entire business. You don't need the most expensive rod in the building. You need the right action for what you throw, decent guides, and 4 seconds of your own attention at the counter. Do that, and the next time a salesman steers you toward the Pro Series and says this is what the tournament guys are running, you'll already know the quiet truth he doesn't. The tournament guys checked the guides, balanced it on one finger, covered up the name, and bought the cheaper one. YouTube thinks you'll like one of these two videos, so go ahead and click one. And if you made it to the end, subscribe.